Before we go any deeper, make sure you stay with us until the end. Because the story is not built from big surprises, but rather from small details that are often missed. That's exactly where the warmth is. Episodes 5 to 6 feel different, feel closer, and leave an impression that is difficult to describe in simple words. This story is not about exaggerated sensations or far-fetched claims. This is a story about small moments that come naturally. A moment that makes many people smile involuntarily. If you've ever felt that Jungkook and Jimin have always had a unique way of interacting, then this episode will help you understand that feeling more clearly. Since the beginning of the episode, the atmosphere has been calm. There is no rush rhythm. The camera gives them space to be themselves. No pressure. There is no script that forces the direction of the story. Everything flows in a simple but meaningful way. Jungkook and Jimin display a gentle and stable energy. The brief looks they shared, the little smiles that just appeared, as well as the way they responded to each other felt honest. Nothing far-fetched. No dialogue is overrated. Only interaction as it is. At this point, many soldiers began to feel involuntarily dissolved. The warm feeling came slowly. Does not hit, but envelopes. Each of their small steps and light laughter reminds that togetherness does not always have to be celebrated with a big thing. Sometimes, it's the silence between conversations that speaks the most. Spontaneous, unplanned reactions are often the most beautiful part. Episodes 5 through 6 show how Jungkook and Jimin understand each other's rhythm naturally. When one speaks, the other listens. When one jokes, the other replies with an understanding smile. Everything feels light and not forced. That's the reason why their interaction feels close to the audience. Slowly, many are realizing that this sense of comfort is not something that comes out of nowhere. This is the result of a long time. From shared experiences and trust built little by little. The camera doesn't even have to pan too close, because the warmth is already clearly visible. The soldiers who watched this episode seem to be invited to sit with them. Not as a distant spectator, but as a witness of a simple but meaningful togetherness. In the middle of the episode, an interesting feeling arises. Many begin to think, why does it feel deeper? Although there are no major changes. There is no conflict. There are no dramatic scenes, there are only small details. The way Jungkook reacted to Jimin. The way Jimin responded to Jungkook. Unspoken concern, but it can be felt. And for many soldiers, it is precisely such details that mean the most. There are no superfluous claims. There is no misleading narrative. Only real interactions make the viewer reluctant to take their eyes off. Curiosity is maintained, not because of the drama, but because of the warmth that continues to flow. That if you're still watching up here, chances are you're feeling it too. A warm feeling that grows slowly. The desire to see to the end. This episode is like inviting the audience to slow down for a moment and enjoy being together. Many soldiers say that they not only watch, but also feel. Not because the story is made dramatic, but because honest emotions feel so close. Towards the end of the episode, the mood does not turn into an explosion of emotions. Quite the opposite. Calm is maintained. Therein lies its strength. Jungkook and Jimin don't need to do anything extraordinary to make the moment feel special. Their togetherness is enough. This episode reminds that strong relationships are often seen in the little things done with care. The soldiers who survived to the end usually realized one important thing. This episode does not promise something that does not exist. No story is turned upside down. There is no false hope. All that is shown is an honest, warm and safe portrait of togetherness for anyone to enjoy. Precisely because of that honesty, the impression left behind feels deeper. Before really closing this story, take a moment to ask yourself. Which moments make you smile the most? What is the smallest detail in your heart? If you feel touched, support it in a simple way. Watch until done. Share with fellow soldiers who may need a little warmth today. And stay tuned for the next story on Bangtan News today. However, if you think this story stops there, it is precisely there that the next emotional layer appears. Episodes 5 to 6 slowly open up a deeper space. A space where togetherness is not only seen, but truly felt, many soldiers realize that a sense of comfort cannot be forced. It appears when two people are on the same frequency. Every little interaction is proof that they enjoy that company. In some moments, silence speaks louder than words. A short look, a small smile for no reason, and an honest reaction merge into a subtle emotional groove. A sensitive viewer will catch these details. Without realizing it, they stay longer. Waiting. Hope there is one more little moment that can warm the heart. That's the power of this episode. Not forcing emotions, but making room for emotions to grow on their own. Many soldiers felt that watching this episode was like reading a page of a favorite book that did not want to close immediately, not because it is full of surprises, but because each part of it offers a sense of security. Jungkook and Jimin look relaxed as they are. There is no pressure to look perfect, there was laughter. There are reasonable small awkward moments. And there is a warmth that is difficult to describe in words. At some point, the audience realized that they were no longer waiting for the next scene. They enjoy the process. Every second counts, time seems to slow down. Jungkook and Jimin are getting late in the atmosphere. The audience was carried away. There is no big drama. Only consistent and soothing togetherness. For many soldiers, this episode became a stopover. Little space to breathe from the daily grind. A place to feel accompanied. Emotional tension arises in different ways. Not out of conflict, but out of fear that this moment will soon end. That was the reason why many spectators held out until the last second. Towards the close of the episode, that warmth didn't fade. The story is allowed to flow unhurriedly. The camera keeps observing without interfering. The soldiers who watched to the end often felt a gentle satisfaction. Not for getting a big answer, but for having been invited to enjoy an honest emotional journey. This episode does not promise anything that cannot be fulfilled. It just shows togetherness for what it is. And that's where the power is. If you are still listening to this passage, it is no coincidence. It is the result of small moments carefully strung together, from beginning to end. Episodes 5 through 6 invite the audience to stay and feel. No rush. Not forced. Before completely closing, recall the most memorable details. Which smile is the warmest? Which silence is most meaningful? If this story entertains you, you are not alone. Many soldiers felt the same way. Keep watching, sharing, and coming back whenever you need a soothing story, because sometimes, what we need isn't a big, jarring story, but rather quiet moments that make us feel accompanied. And episodes 5 through 6 have done just that in their own way.